interesting. Do you ever see it transferring over or from micro-mobility at all? So like e-scooters, e-bikes, all the smaller vehicle types?
I think I could say that they're critically important in the transport mix now, and will become more so. And we see that fleets, where they have traditionally been made up of cars and vans, are starting to see the value of micromobility in whatever role that they play within last mile delivery, etc. But there's no reason why these vehicles, which are quite often already connected in some way, whether that be to apps or anything like that provide their GPS positioning, etc. They use the same type of data that we're already using in order to manage risk for traditional vehicle fleets. But there's no doubt that this same approach can be taken for us to really understand what's going on in the new micromobility market, and that to be just as much a part of our risk management as traditional vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And where could you see this type of approach fit into the mobility ecosystem in the future? What sort of changes do you hope to see in mobility due to the system?
Insurance is beginning to take a very different role in the transport ecosystem. Insurance traditionally has basically been financial protection in the event of loss. That's where it's come in. So it's only ever been important to someone after a crash has happened. What we have now, with the technology that's available and the data that we have, that we can be much more intelligent with that. We can start to bring insurance right into the centre, and for it to be predictive, for it to start to prevent, and for it to be really a conduit between technology, safety and finance for fleets. And so it plays, I think insurance has a much greater responsibility to play within the transport ecosystem in keeping it safe for the fleets that we look to help, but also that means for everyone else that's using the public roadway.
And how is behavioural science used as part of the approach to improve risk?
Telematics systems have been around for probably 3+ decades now. Amazingly, we still haven't realised the full potential of these systems. And part of that is because a lot of the time we focused on the data. There's been an assumption that if you just provide fleets and fleet managers and companies with data about their vehicles and drivers, that they will do something with it. Frankly, that hasn't worked, because these are busy people that typically their job is something else. So what we want to do is develop insights, actionable insights. That's what fleet managers need. That's what companies want. We're focusing on this actionable insight, not in the data. We're focused, our job is to take the mountains of data and generate the insights, predict the risk, show you what needs attention, and give you the actionable outcome of what you can do to mitigate that risk. And that leaves the user free to get on with whatever their day-to-day job is. And that's where we come in to support.
And Charlotte, I also wanted to ask you if you've noticed any impact on the fact that there has been a shortage in talent for these roles, and what sort of talent there is a lack of.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all seen in the news there's a struggle to find certain drivers to fit certain roles. Worldwide, it's just there's a gap. With that comes a bit of a risk. Organizations will start to feel a little bit desperate. They don't mind as long as they get a bum on the seat. And what that then leads to is potentially more accidents, less focus on driver behavior and more about just getting people doing the job. And maybe they're not the right people for that job. It's led to potentially longer shifts for individuals. So that will, again, lead to fatigue, lead to anxiety. So that the goal is always to have safer drivers. And the goal for clients, I suppose, make sure their insurance premiums aren't going up, their fuel costs are under control. So all of these have implications if you don't have the right people being put into the right roles.
Can you give me an example of where using Aon's assessment driver suite has impacted a client?
We've got quite a few different case studies and different ways that we've used these assessments. So example would be where you have individuals that are really understanding their processes and guidelines so that they can really think about risk and safety in their day-to-day job. Be that driving or moving equipment around, back in the warehouses, you've really got to be on top of the rules and regulations. So making sure that individuals are going to be willing to follow those rules and safety guidelines is really, really key. And we were able to dig into the data that we gathered to show over a $3 million saving in terms of it related to injury related costs. So it's little tiny steps like that, and finding the right behaviors in the first place can lead to quite substantial cost savings for our clients.
Thank you both so much for explaining that for me. I look forward to seeing how those conversations develop at Move. I understand you have Curtis joining us there, and I know he'll touch briefly on what we've discussed today and more at the event. So thank you very much for talking to me about that, and I will see Aon there at Move.